Was there any doubt in your mind that he was going to not get paid? Go.
I didn't know if he'd stay or not.
Well, he didn't have a
Seemed
choice.
like technically yes, he did have a choice to stay or not. Let me rephrase it. I don't. I didn't know if they were going to pay him or not. They may have kept him, most likely traded him if he was unsatisfied, because you don't want a player that doesn't want to be there and may not perform because he doesn't want to be there. Again, I don't know what his injury was. I don't want to misspeak, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if his injury was fake. But I don't think he's that type of person. But with how he handled the situation, I don't think it was the greatest on him or the
How did
Colts.
he
But
handle the
yeah,
situation in
like
your
I
mind?
said, though the Colts didn't help, they made it public too. He made the falling out very public and kind of was just seemed very against the Colts, regardless of what they were going to do.
Because they weren't trying to pay him. I'd be against that too.
Mm-hmm.
So my opinion on this is that I thought that they could get a deal done the start of the season, but once he either faked the injury or had an injury, and then that Zach Moss started having good weeks, I thought there was no reason for them to have to pay him, and all of a sudden they paid him.
Mm-hmm.
It surprised me
And
because I thought because Jonathan Taylor kind of screwed himself a bit.
Yep, Zach Moss was proving that they don't need Jonathan Taylor, and Zach Moss proved that they don't need Jonathan Taylor this past week.
I
And
think
that's
that
also what sorry to cut you off, but yeah, that's also went through my mind of why I thought they may not extend his contract or pay him or anything like that because the Colts have a history of doing that with the running backs especially. Mullen Mack got
Well,
injured, Jonathan Taylor and Hines stepped up, we traded Mullen Mack.
do you
I
know
don't
what
think
all this is proving? This is showing other teams that they can hold out on their number one guy because budget players are going to come up and prove they're devaluing themselves by doing these holdouts because they got these other guys who aren't making as much money who are trying to get playing time and proving that these big money guys aren't needed.
I think the situation was done poorly by both because honestly, this also proves that you can hold out and get paid, even when there's a player playing good below you.
so. I think that
So I don't know.
I think that there's a factor that I think we all should just consider. I don't know that this happened. I don't have any inside information on this, so don't take this as gospel. I would venture to guess that this contract that Jonathan Taylor agreed to was likely the contract that they offered him in the offseason. And the reason why I said that, or I believe this, is that if you're Jonathan Taylor and you're sitting here and you're at home and you're injured or whatever it is you got going on, you're playing Xbox, Call of Duty, whatever, like Kyler, and you see this young kid Moss and he's out there and he's balling, you know, if I don't know about you, but I'm saying to myself, I need to get a contract done as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what? I'm going to continue to stay home. And I think his agent went back and he presented terms and said, "Hey, listen, you know what? Is that deal that you originally offered us still on the table? If so, we want to go ahead and accept it." And I think that maybe, or maybe it was a small tweak to the contract. But I believe that that's closer to the original deal that was likely offered in the offseason, which is why it got done so fast and quietly. And now he's
Yep.
suddenly no longer injured.
Yeah, I agree with you because he's sitting at home watching Zach Moss take his job, and he probably had that aha moment that, you know what, all this is doing is hurting my value if I were to go anywhere else. Because there's a reason why teams weren't grabbing and fighting to get him. They were sitting back being like, you know what, let's watch how this plays out. Is it going to prove that Jonathan Taylor's as valuable as he's saying or not?
I
And that's what they were doing. They were watching Zach Moss, and Zach Moss was out there balling out.
I agree with you guys. There is no mention of a contract in the offseason, but I'm sure they had some type of talk. So I do agree with Big there. But there was trade talks for Jonathan Taylor. Don't get it twisted. The Packers and the
Eagles
and the Dolphins were the big one. The Dolphins actually offered some picks. So there was a market for Jonathan Taylor. I think the market was just too high.
Taylor asked for permission or whatever to be traded, and they said okay.
Listen, if you
They
say the word
had no
trade,
problem with it.
the Dolphins is at the table. Those guys trade for everybody. They don't care.
So yeah, they do. So I got to ask y'all, how come you don't see these guys holding out on the Patriots the same way that they are in other teams trying to fight for these contracts? What's different in New England than opposed to these other teams?
Because they draft bums.
I was gonna say a lot of the players is later round guys, or they sign in free agency. They do sign some big guys every now and then, but they typically sign role players, guys who will meet a role but not necessarily ball out.
Who's supposed to hold out on their team? You want Mac Jones to hold out?
Well, let's go back into the earlier years when Tom Brady's there, and I mean, yes, I know who doesn't want to go play while Tom Brady's there, but at the same time, you had some significant names in New England during the Tom Brady era. You weren't seeing guys holding out trying to fight for more money, and why is that in the New England organization?
Because they were contending
That's
for Super
all I was
Bowls every
saying
year
is
versus the
that.
Colts.
So yeah,
We're
higher
contending for a
chance to
top
win,
5
but
pick.
also, like I said, they draft later. Chris Welker was late round. Edelman late round. Gronk was 4th round. A whole bunch. Devin McCourty, I think he was a higher pick, so no mind on him. They tend to find gems in the later rounds.
I think what's going on is people know that they can't pull one over Bill Belichick. I think it's coming from a power struggle with a lot of organizations.
Mac Jones is doing that right now.
Mac Jones is about to get his butt shipped the hell out is what's going to happen.
For a bag of
Bill
potato chips.
Belichick's going to come over here and take Vince and put him at quarterback and turn him into something. I think what it is I think it's a lack of establishment of power with teams, and these players think that they can dictate what these owners and what these coaches are going to do. And I think teams need to take after Bill Belichick. They need to make their role there more clear.
But there's also a first-year head coach. I think it's different circumstances.
He's a first-year head coach.
The Colts coach, first-year head coach. Jonathan Taylor doesn't know what the team's going to look like.
I think it might be more like the players want to hold out on a team that may not make the playoffs or the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
They want more money of not making the playoffs or going to the Super Bowl. Like the Patriots had a good chance of going to the Super Bowl, so obviously the players are not going to ask a lot of money. They want to stay on that team to get that ring. But say like the Colts and these other, the Giants, and Saquon was doing that. Like these teams aren't playoff caliber teams.
The Raiders.
They want that. They want that money. They want that money. They know they're probably not going to make the Super Bowl this year or the next couple years, so they want that money up front first instead of having that chance like you see on these better teams. Players taking less money and just getting their team better because they know they have a chance.
I think it's a good point. I think it's pretty well said.
They said, "I seen the ball. I seen I had a chance." Right, Dwight?
What was that? Vince Tyson? What the heck?
No, it's
you know who doesn't have a chance? Anthony Richardson, if he keeps getting injured every week.
Yeah. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about with Jonathan Taylor?
Oh no, I think that's everything with Jonathan Taylor. I think I don't know if he makes a big difference to this Colts team. I really don't. And they paid him a ton.
I think he's just an expensive paperweight.
I think
I don't know about that much.
Offensive player of the year. He's expensive paperweight. I mean, he had a bad year last year, but
I mean, as of right now, he's an expensive paperweight. I mean, they got Zach Moss out there doing his thing,
and he's getting paid less than $2 million, I think.
I think Jonathan Taylor would have been better off trying to take lesser money from another team.
I don't know. White's
'Cause,
point, I
you
don't
know-
know. I was just gonna say it could be not knowing what the team's gonna look like because it changes a lot since Andrew Luck. Like we tried Carson Wentz, he made stupid mistakes, and that was a bad year. Before that, we tried Philip Rivers, who they made the playoffs, but nothing great. After Carson Wentz had Matt Ryan, another terrible year from a MVP caliber quarterback. Yeah, just a lot of changes since then.
Well, I think he screwed up by making himself so expensive for the Eagles. Because if he would have agreed to less money with the Eagles, that would have been a perfect organization for him to land in. If he's as great as of a running back as he says he is, or y'all think he is, look at the holes. You could drive an 18-wheeler through the holes in Philadelphia. He would be absolutely great between him and Swift. He's just, I think he's got a little bit of delusion to him trying to get that much money.
I think I can go out there, lay down on the field, and have no one touching me. The holes are that far apart.
Okay, well, we can pull up tape, and Big can attest to the run game that Philly has, where they've got wide open holes, and he would have been great there. But he's out there trying to look for too much money, and I don't think he's that valuable. Is he a good running back? Sure, I think he'd excel in other organizations more so than others.
I mean, the Colts don't have a bad line, but yeah, the Eagles are obviously probably the best line in football, no doubt.
I think they got better coaches too.